is that closure thing I talked about a couple weeks ago. It's a framework that works very, very well.
Hey, this is Blake Sloan. I've been selling real estate over 14 years. Our team of highly trained professionals, along with our unmatched marketing, has sold thousands of homes here in the Myrtle Beach area, and this is how we do it.
Now, I've taught this before, but anybody remember this, what it means? What the first one is? First step, I want to clarify their problem or clarify why they're here. This is super important. And when I do that, I'm going to keep asking until I get the right answer. What does that mean, you think? Get to the real pain. So the first question I ask about why they're here, guess what they're going to tell me? Bullshit, right? So I'm going to keep asking questions till I get the right answer in terms of what they are. Some simple questions about that we have. I had here too is, what made you come in today, right? What made you reach out? What's your goal right now? Why is that important to you? What made you reach out in the first place, right? Super important. Nobody's even asking that question a lot of times. Super important there, right? So, what made you come in today? What made you reach out? What's your goal right now? Why is that important? But I'm looking to clarify why they're here or what's going on with that scenario. Second part, anybody remember what it is? I want to label them with a problem. Why is that important, you think?
So you can pin them down later.
So I can pin them down later so I can show them, hey, look, here's how we're going to help you fix that problem. Most people don't have a clarity in their problem. They have a pain, but they're not exactly sure how to put that pain into words. That's one of the most powerful things that my coach Garrett did for me is I was in all this pain at one point, and I was just miserable, even though on the outside it should have been great, and I couldn't put that pain into words, and what he did was take that and clarify that and put that pain into words. And he talked about this saying, says, when I know your pain better than you do, I own your mind for life. And it's true. Because if you can clarify my pain for me better than I can, what do I think subconsciously? He or she's the one that can solve it. They automatically think you're the one to solve it if you can clarify better than they can. Now, how do I do that? What do I say? So I say, what you're telling me is, you are blank, correct? So what were the examples of that? You're frustrated with your current living situation. You hate where you live right now, correct? Right? Whatever it is, I need to make sure I'm labeling them with a problem. Now, that's going to help me because for me to have to repeat that problem back in a way I can label them, I have to be super clear in that. And so what happens is most people give up on the second and third level questions because they can't get a clear pain. It used to drive me crazy, right? When I would take appointments with, what would I say every time? What's the pain? What's the pain? What's the pain? Right? Then they would always tell you, well, I'm just moving or I'm downsizing, and that's not real pain, right? And so I want to know what's the pain so I can reiterate that to them, and I got to label them. Now, once they label, they have that problem on them, it subconsciously gives me the advantage in the scenario. You with me on this? Super important piece there. I want to overview their past experiences. What do you think that means?
Maybe with a past real estate.
Yeah. I want to know their past experiences, their past pains. Right? Tell me about what you've done so far. What were your previous experiences? This is called the pain cycle. I want to do two things here. I want to expose it, and I want to reinforce it. I want to expose it, I want to reinforce it, which is super important. When I reinforce it, that means I affirm them. Wow, that must have been hard. I appreciate you sharing that. Tell me more about X. So I affirm that. Wow, that must have been hard. I appreciate you sharing that. Tell me more about X. Which is creating that pain cycle. So it's what? It's making that pain they have more real. Why is that important? Because everyone in today's time is sedated through social media, through drugs, through alcohol, through whatever it is. And so they're sedating the pain, which means they don't feel it, which means they're not going to move away from it if I don't make them feel it. With me on this? So I want you to look at O as a pain cycle. This could also be from what? From agents, from their scenario, living situation, whatever it is in that scenario. It's going to take time for me to understand and dig and ask those questions, right? Which is super important in that scenario. What have you done so far to accomplish this, right? How long did you do it for? How long ago was that? How did that work out for you? What else have you tried? Right? And I want to explain how it's not their fault, right? There's a missing piece to that equation. I want to make sure they know that, hey, look, this pain cycle you have is not your fault. Why is that important? I'm on their side, right? I want them to know it's easy to solve. Hey, it's not your fault that most real estate agents are terrible, right? The reality is that's a problem in our marketplace overall. It's not your fault. And then I'm going to sell them and show them why it's much better in the way we do things, right? And the next one's going to be sell them the vacation. What does that mean, you think? Yes, I'm getting from pleasure. And here's the thing. There's a saying that we say this: sell them the vacation, not the plane flight. What does that mean? Sell them the vacation, not the plane flight. Talk about it's very painful to get there, right? We talked about the example going to Hawaii. Hawaii takes like 13, 14 hours, right? The vacation is what the sizzle is, but the pain is actually what has to be done. They're searching for what? It's important. They're searching for the outcome, not the process. So if you get stuck too much talking about the process, what do? You overwhelm them with mumbo-jumbo from your industry lingo. I want to talk about selling the vacation, which is what? The promised land. Okay, just make sure, ask myself, am I talking about too much mumbo-jumbo that has to do with our industry? Or am I selling the vacation, which is, hey, look, here's you on the beach sipping Mai Tais or whatever it is. In that scenario, it's going to be what? Them in their dream house, having Christmas with their kids or whatever their scenario is. Here's how I'm going to help you get here. Okay, which is super important. Right? And so given everything that you said, yeah, I think you're going to be perfect for what we have here. That's right down, right? Giving everything that you just said, I think you're going to be perfect for what we have here. That's your transition point to start selling them. Giving everything that you said, I think you're going to be perfect for what we have here. And that's hooking them into what? To our sale. We're hooking them in that scenario. That makes sense there? People buy results, right? We must sell the outcome. They buy the what, not the how, which I think is super important. That's kind of where the close comes in. Okay? Make sure you always hit 3 main points, the 3 most important points to that person. So obviously we have a lot, but I want you to analyze each person with what are the 3 most important points I want them to comprehend from me. Based on the pain, the problems they've told me. So the elite salespeople know, like, hey, look, based on the discovery, I know the 3 most important points I'm going to hit in my presentation because it really relates to them the most. Does that make sense, y'all? E, explain away their concerns. What does that mean?
Explain away their concerns?
Yeah, explain away their concerns.
Solutions on how you gonna overcome whatever it is that they're experiencing.
Yeah, I want you to write this down. We talked about this before. No is where your job starts. No is where your job starts. Right? Selling is everything before the objection. Closing is everything after the objection. Or the pushback, or whatever you want to call. And so that means I'm what? I'm good at overcoming the objection piece. And one thing too that, just think about, as I have my notes here, the obstacles are what come up before you get priced. An obstacle is like something that you could collide with him early on before you close. So what would that be? This is an early collision. This is a side note here. But obstacles come before like the actual thing. It's something when they're telling you some shit that you know is not true. If you let it slide, what's going to happen? It's going to bite you on the back end, and they're going to have this world belief or this world view that's not accurate. So you want to make sure that you overcome that. One of the examples that, what you got? Yeah, wait for the mark crash. That's an obstacle that you want to smash early on. Right? And it's so true because it's not true, right? And he gave the example of, it's really funny actually. The guy that teaches this, he talks about he had a gym, and he taught people, and the people, what do you think one of the biggest obstacles they would say in the gym? Like people come to the gym and they have a diet program and the diet wouldn't work. What would they say? They still have a slow metabolism, right? And that's an obstacle. And he would say, well, I'm pretty sure it's not just slow metabolism. There's a lot of starving kids in Africa, and I don't think any of them have any slow metabolisms, right? And the reality is, he's talking about that sometimes you just got to hit them in the face with that they're believing this bullshit that's not true. Like I had somebody, a friend of ours, one time at the boathouse, I gave this example. She was telling me she had a thyroid issue and she couldn't lose weight. But she had just ordered some chicken nachos and was literally eating them in front of my face, telling me how she had a slow metabolism because she had a thyroid issue. Right? That's an issue that you got to do what? As if I'm trying to get there, is to do what? I got to call him out on what that obstacle is. He told me, look, the reality is, hey, what you've been doing is not getting you what you want. We got to make sure we change that. And then sometimes it means an uncomfortable conversation or collision. Okay, but I need to do it early on, right? Because if not, it's going to bite me in the back end. Does that make sense to you? So just have that piece there. It's important to understand that scenario. The last one is reinforce. Reinforce. What does that mean? I want to reinforce their decision so that they feel good about themselves and their decision. How do I do that? You made a fantastic decision that's going to help you and your family based on what you told me. This is exactly what you needed. Then I'm going to reinforce that what? After the sign. So what happens after you sign them? What happens sometimes?
They want to get out of the...
They're talking to people outside of here. They're talking to family members. They're talking to their agents. And all of a sudden, they start having buyer's remorse, even though you've done your job. It's important. So I want to reinforce them. I want to book the appointment from the appointment, right? 48 hours. If I'm on the listing side, what do I want to book? Photos right then and right there, because I want to keep the next thing to look forward to. Or it's the chances of them want to back out is a lot higher. Then we'll follow up with a text message, a video message, and a phone call. Really, the next 24 hours, I'm going to ask them what?
Ask them, are there any properties they want to see?
I just want to make sure you got the email I sent you. I sent you 43 properties yesterday. Did you get a chance to take a look at those yet? Because if not, what are they going to do?
They're going to say, oh, you didn't send me shit.
Exactly. And you did set up and you put the notes in there. What did your notes miss?
How many houses?
How many houses? Always, always, always put, because when they want to get out, the minute she calls wanting to cancel, I say, whoa, James. Let me send you a screenshot real quick. I'm going to hold on a second. I'll put you on speakerphone while I screenshot this for you. I screenshot my notes. I send it to her and I say, hey, what was her name? Florence. Hey, Florence, let me ask you this. Did you get that text message I sent you? Can you open and tell me what that says? And she's going to open it and says, hey, put a note in that says I sent her 143 properties and say, what time was that? 3:43 p.m. Okay, well, guess what, Florence? It's there waiting. You better check your spam folder. I ain't letting you out the agreement. Right? So that's important to have the actual notes of how many. I've used that to my advantage so many times after I had people wanting to get out and have issues saying I didn't get it back. And what happened, they wouldn't get it sometimes, and I had no proof they actually got it. So I would log that in my notes, and I screenshot it and send it to them. Hey, look, I sent you, and I'll always put the number of how many match. It holds me accountable to make sure my search is good, and more importantly, allows me to send that screenshot to them if it doesn't go through. And that's true. Like some places don't get it. Well, Hotmail we had a problem with last week or overall. Does that make sense? So questions about that? What's the first one? Clarify the problem. Clarify why they're there. Right? Second piece, what? Label the problem. I say you are blank, correct? Meaning I need to make sure I actually label. Don't be scared about this part of it. I need to be clear and concise in how I'm labeling the problem. O is what? Overview past experiences. S is what? Sell the vacation, not the plane flight. Super important piece there. E is what? Explain the concerns, and R is what? Reinforce it. So that's super important for us to understand overall.